Welcome, everybody, back to the Oklahoma Drill Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew, and as always, I have my co host, Matt, here with me. Last time we took a look at the Jets' 2023 schedule, went week by week for how we think things are going to go for this upcoming 2023 season. And today we are going to be taking a little bit of a bigger picture look at this season as a whole, give our bold predictions for the season, what we think might happen that's a little on the crazier side, a little more broad view rather than just week to week, game to game. No point in kind of beating around the bush any longer. Matt, I'm going to toss things to you to kick off here. We are going in completely blind. We do not know each other's predictions here, so this will be a fun little reaction for both of us to hear. Go ahead and lead us off, Matt. What is your first bold prediction of the 2023 NFL season for the New York Jets?
All right. When I think of what has plagued this team over the last couple of years, more than just the quarterback position, or other than the quarterback position, rather, I would say it's been the health of our offensive line. So my first bold prediction is that our entire offensive line, all the starters, are going to be healthy all year. And together, by doing that, they're going to coalesce, they're going to gel with each other, and they're going to form as a top tier unit. So it's kind of a two-pronged bold prediction here. One, that they stay healthy, and two, that they become, I'm going to say, a top 10 offensive line, run blocking and pass blocking combined.
Okay, I like it. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Matt.
Uh-huh.
Who are those five starting players and where are they lining up?
That's the thing. All right. So I'm gonna have Brown at left tackle. I just think that if he's healthy, he's gonna kind of just fall into place. And while Becton, while also appearingly healthy and in the best shape of his life, I think he's just gonna have too much rust to knock off, to really knock Brown off his perch. So then really it's all a matter of, does he become a problem at that point? Does he request a trade? It sounds like, from what Salah said, that he and him have been talking and that Becton understands. So I have a feeling he's going to wind up right back on the right side at right tackle, not complain, but this time stay healthy and perform very well. And then you have Lakin and AVT as our guards, and then Titman is going to be a no-brainer at center because I don't think Connor McGovern's that good.
Yeah, I like it. That would be, I think, best case scenario starting five, assuming Lakin Tomlinson rebounds, which is a big assumption, but we can hope, especially for the price tag. But if they can all stay healthy and if they can all gel and form that type of unit, I think that's a really solid group of players. The issue for the Jets offensive line hasn't been about the talent. It's been about keeping them on the field and finding the spots where they're going to stick. And if we can get a season this next coming year where all that happens, I think it could be a solid unit. I don't see top 10 run and pass blocking being out of the question, especially when you're going to have a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers that's a lot better at handling pressure. It's a lot better at seeing blitzes, a lot better at feeling pressure in the pocket, making it harder to be sacked. I think you could have some boost in pass protection numbers just off the bat because you have such a good quarterback under center that helps your offensive line, and vice versa. Your running game should be improved because defenses can't load the boxes frequently. There's more of a threat of that passing game. There were at times during Zach Wilson's disaster that teams would put 9 in the box and play press on the outside and dare the Jets to throw the ball, and they wouldn't, and they would get destroyed in the run game as a result. So I think there's a lot of reasons that this could work out. Health is the big one, but if that does happen, I think the rest will take care of itself. And it's going to lead into one of my later predictions. I'm going to bury the lead a little bit on that before we jump into this next one. But I'm right there with you, Matt. I think that's a good one.
Yeah, I just see that a lot of the issues the guys that did stay healthy had was probably getting used to all the new faces around them changing
Right.
almost weekly. And that alone, I feel like, will help them really come together and reach their full potential.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it'll definitely have an impact. From the offense to the defense, I'm going to jump over to the defensive side of the ball for my first prediction here. And when talking about the Jets defense this past offseason, the two guys that have been dominating the headlines, and deservedly so, Sauce Gardner wins a Defensive Rookie of the Year award, first All-Pro rookie corner in 60 something years or something ridiculous, face of the young NFL with the corner position. Seems like this guy's well on his way to becoming one of the best players at his position in the league, if not the best, considering he might already be at that one of the best status. And Quinnen Williams, after another all pro season in his own right, contract negotiations that recently reports seem to be saying are on track and aren't too far apart. I think we both expect, Matt, that to wrap itself up at some point before the season starts. As we sit here at the end of May, there's still plenty of time to figure that out. We're not too worried. But there's a guy in the Jets defense that I want to talk about. That's the center of my first prediction that I think is really going to make a much more bigger name for himself this coming season and maybe deserved it last year. That's DJ Reed. Um, Sauce Gardner was excellent, but so was DJ Reed. And I think now going into 2023, teams know who Sauce Gardner is. They're going to be well aware he is going to be the Jets' number one corner. He is going to be the guy quarterbacks look to avoid. And I think that's going to lead to DJ Reed getting targeted probably more than maybe he should. And so my bold prediction, first one off the cusp, Matt, I think DJ Reed's going to have at least 5 interceptions this year. He only had one this past season, came in the first game of the year against the Baltimore Ravens towards the end of the game. But we've seen his ball skills. We've seen his ability to recover. We've seen his ability to get hands-on passes. And I think the more he gets targeted, the more those opportunities are going to come. Not to mention, like you were talking about, if the offensive line is healthy and they're gelling and this offense is clicking, the Jets are going to be scoring points and teams are going to have to throw to keep up with them and try and stay in the game. That's going to be even more opportunities for DJ Reed to get his hands on the ball. I think he's going to have a really, really big year. I almost wanted to say he's going to lead the league in picks, but I didn't want to quite go that far. I wasn't that quite confident. So I'm going to go with at least 5 interceptions. But if he gets 6 or 7 this year and is at the top of the league or near the top of the league in interceptions, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, let's see. Between Sauce and Reed, they had a combined, let's see, 157 targets. Reed had 83, Sauce had 74. So you know what? I am going to say that I agree with that first. I think that the targets are going to be a lot more lopsided than they were in 2022. I could see Reed probably having upwards of 100 targets this season. And yeah, so eventually they're just going to treat Sauce like Revis, and they're just going to avoid him at all costs. And that's going to mean a heavy workload for Reed. And in a workload that increases, he's probably going to see his stats also grow. So he had what 10 pass breakups and 1 interception. I could see him having probably 20 plus pass breakups. And yeah, I don't think 5 interceptions is that far off either. Yeah, he is definitely one of the best cornerbacks that's not talked about at all. You rarely see him in the conversation when you talk about some of the great corners in this league, and even when they're talking about great cornerback duos, I still see a lot of disrespect for Reed. So it's something that's definitely overlooked. I think it's definitely something doable. Um, I can definitely see it happen.
Yeah, I think so too. And another point that I think makes it even more likely, unless things change this coming season, which I'm not saying they won't, but based off the information we have right now, I have reason to believe that it will be status quo on early downs, or at least unless they are blitzing and looking for a particular matchup. The Jets don't travel or swap their corners around. Reed and Sauce play sides. So you're going to have teams know where Sauce Gardner is going to line up and intentionally look to target DJ Reed on the other side with maybe one of their better receivers and one of their top guys that they're looking to throw to. I think that's only going to increase his target share even more. And you're just going to have where DJ Reed's his raw statistics in terms of yards allowed and touchdowns given up, might not be elite of the elite, top of the league. But I think when you look at his yards and touchdowns given allowed per target, that's when it's really going to start to shine because his target share is just going to be huge.
Yeah. Although I feel like there are going to be situations this year where Sauce does fall, because we did see it some
I hope
last
so.
year, like with Andrews. We saw him follow Andrews. So I can see in specific situations where we really don't have anybody that can guard Kelsey. So I can see Sauce really just sticking to him. And then like-minded the matchup. So in those situations, I can see Sauce really being locked in on Sauce Island. But Reed is still going to get targeted the most because quarterbacks aren't going to throw at Sauce. His reputation is very well known at this point. And if he comes even close to what he did last year, then they're going to do the same thing that they kind of did towards the end of the year, where they kind of just avoided him. Um, so yeah, Reed's going to get a hefty load, and I can see his production going up even more.
Yeah, I really think it will. I really think there's a good chance that it will. Matt, what you got up next?
All right, I'm going to go back to the offensive side of the ball. We have Aaron Rodgers. That's amazing, and it's going to be a fun ride watching him. But you know what? It's still like right there, like in the back of my brain, that he is going to be 40. He's already has this calf muscle thing. What's to come? I think that at some point during this year, he is going to be hurt and he might miss time. So my bold prediction is that Zach Wilson will start 3 or more games and win all of them.
Wow. Okay, that's a bold one. Definitely, it's easy to understand, and I can completely understand why. You have a guy in Aaron Rodgers that, like you said, is aging, and we've already seen a little bit of a nick and a cut and a bruise in an OTA that kind of limited him, and the whole world held their breath and clutched their pearls for an afternoon because Aaron Rodgers bruised his leg, which I get. Definitely did some pearl clutching of my own in that little bit of time. And if that happens, if pressure goes in or if age catches up to him and he has to miss some time, it seems logical to think that the Jets' next best chance would be to start Zach Wilson. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Zach Wilson gives them more of a chance than Tim Boyle.
I think so.
So,
Yeah.
so I can understand the logic and the thought process there. I don't 100% disagree. I'm going to be honest, Matt. It goes against one of my later predictions, and so we are differing here, which is good. But I can understand the I don't want to say pessimist angle, but the cautious angle of it might happen. He is older, and even if it does, you're going to have a guy in Zach Wilson come in, and the fact that he's going to win all three of his starts, that I think is the boldest part of all of this. Is
Yeah.
thinking that he's going to come in and do it, but you know
Mhm.
what? I don't think it's that crazy, especially if it's towards the end of the year when the schedule's lighter.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, there's kind of a duality to this bold prediction. The pessimism of Rodgers not making it the full season, and then the optimism around Zach being able to come in, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, getting another shot. And yeah, if it comes at the end of the year, in spots that are more favorable to him, I think he has what it takes. I mean, he we did win games with him last year.
He won
I
more
think
games than any other quarterback for the Jets on their roster last year.
absolutely, and so I think he can do it, and especially if everything else is clicking. If that offensive line is clicking and he's not getting pressure right off the bat, if the run game is not getting stopped before it gets started, then I think he can lean on his offense a little bit more. If that defense is the defense that we know it can be, I think this team will lift him up, and he will do just enough to get us by in the interim when we need him. I like, yeah, it's not going to be Tim Boyle. I think we're going to rely on Zach. He's not going to just sit on the bench as the number 3 this year. I think it's a foregone conclusion that he will be our number 2. So then it's just a matter of will he get the shot, and I think it's just more than likely he will.
Yeah, I really don't disagree. And the more I think about it, the more I think that it makes a lot of sense. And another reason why that popped into my head, we had discussed after Michael LaFleur was fired. and we did an episode detailing this situation regarding LaFleur and the Jets and him fighting with Elijah Moore and going behind people's backs and talking to other coaches in the leagues and talking about how he hated working with Zach Wilson and how it was so hard to get him to understand things and how his quarterback was making him look bad and how his passing offense was so great when anybody else was there and all of that. And specifically for me, it really made me think of the environment that you're nurturing this young quarterback in, and that the environment in the building that he's walking into every day, is it all there and designed to help this guy improve with his best interest in mind? And I think we saw that it wasn't the case for Zach Wilson in his first couple of years. Now you have a situation where the pressure is off the coaching staff from making Zach Wilson look good. He is not the you need to succeed, otherwise it's our jobs on the line. You have a guy in Nathaniel Hackett that has no ties to Zach Wilson whatsoever. And his primary job is to coach the offense, get the Jets offense right, work with Aaron Rodgers to make that the case. And from everything that we know about Hackett and from what we've heard from other people that have been around him, he's a great teacher, a great energy, a fun person to be around. And he has that sort of positive and attitude and vibe about him that I think is going to be really, really good for Zach. And for Zach in particular, the pressure's off him too. He no longer has to be the guy. He can just learn. He can just relax. He doesn't have to worry about all the eyes and everything on him. And so if and when that time comes, I think we might see a freer, looser, less ghost rattled up Zach Wilson that we've seen in a very, very long time. And I really think the environment's going to be better. Having Aaron Rodgers there is going to be better. I can't even believe that. One, I'm stunned that you had this as your prediction because it's a really, really good one, but I couldn't think of it myself. And now that we're sitting here talking about it, I'm like, I almost want to agree with you, like wholeheartedly. It completely goes against my last prediction, but you really made a good argument.
Are these bold enough? Because a lot of these seem very plausible. Also,
well, I think that's the whole point. Is we want to be bold, but we don't. But we also want to have some air in reality. We could sit here and make some crazy bold predictions and be like, Zach Wilson's going to start 3 games and throw for 3,000 yards in those 3 games and
wins us a Super Bowl.
Right, and wins us a Super Bowl. We could do all of that if we want, but I think our people come here for a little bit more grounded reality than that.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm with it.
All right. Back and forth we go. You had offense first 2. My first 2 are going to be on the defensive side of the ball. Like you again, I have a little bit more of a pessimistic prediction, or maybe more of a let's look at this circumstance and take it in for what it is prediction. I think John Franklin Myers will be traded midseason. And the reason I think that is we know the Jets have an absolute overload of pass rushing talent and defensive ends, especially after drafting Will McDonald in the first round. And I think that you're going to see specifically Michael Clemens really start to continue to grow into that role. I think he's going to be the guy that they maybe put a little bit of weight on. If he adds 10 pounds, he's the same size as JFM. And we've seen him on some pass rushing packages play inside already as a rookie. I think his role is going to increase. I think Jermaine's role is going to increase in year 2. Obviously, they're going to get McDonald on the field. We know they like Bryce Huff a lot. He's going to be screaming off that other edge with McDonald to give them 2 flamethrowers for tackles to have to worry about. They have a lot of guys. They can rotate. I think JFM is going to be the odd man out. Not that he's a bad player, not that he's not going to be, capable, but I think it could be a way for the Jets to get some money off their books, especially if they're looking to extend Quinnen and have most of that money come in 2024. I think this could be a way to get some money off their books and ship him off to another team that's looking to compete, probably in the NFC, that could use some pass rushing talent. And there's just going to be too many mouths to feed. And I think the Jets are going to get an offer at the deadline that's going to be too good for them to refuse.
I think that's absolutely possible. Like that glutton of edge rushers, I think is going to play a big role in how they use a couple players. I can see them just using JFM more exclusively on the inside. To maybe spell Quinnen here and there. I could see that. Other than that, yeah, maybe you're right. But at the same time, they keep adding bodies because they feel like they need all these bodies, and I feel like they're allergic to getting rid of them. Although that's maybe not, because they did trade Martin, right?
That's exactly what I was going to
They
bring
did
up.
trade
That's
Martin.
where I was going to go next, is that they add all of these bodies in the offseason and then let things play out. And they say, let's get all these guys in, let's get them on our roster, and then we can decide, put them, iron sharpens iron, and whoever comes out best, that's going to be what happens. They signed Jacob Martin to a 3-year contract worth like $25 million in the spring, got to the season, got a handful of weeks in, saw that they had the young guys on their roster that were ready to go and ready to step up. I think they saw a lot more out of Clemens early than they expected. And I think they're expecting him to grow again next year. And they were ready to say, okay, Jacob Martin, we don't need you anymore. Ship you off to Denver. I think this could be a similar situation where right now it's the gluttony. It's the let's get as many guys as we can. Let's draft Will McDonald in the first round. Let's tender Bryce Huff. Let's restructure Carl Lawson. Let's, keep all these guys together and use them all. And then I think you're going to get to the season. And I think Michael Clemens is going to be really kicking some dang butt in year two. And I think the Jets are going to feel comfortable being like, okay, we don't need JFM. We can get younger and cheaper and at the same time and feel like we have a player that's ascending and we can move on.
Steven, now here's the thing. We know that we have JFM, and then if say something happens to JFM, we know Clemens can kind of step right in and kind of fill that dual role. Now, let's say we trade JFM and something happens to Clemens, then who kind of fills in that dual role?
Solomon Thomas, which would not be ideal to us, but Robert Saleh loves Solomon Thomas more than just about any other human loves another human being on this planet. So it would be Solomon Thomas.
Okay. All right. I could see that. Or maybe not even trying to fill it with one player and kind of doing it, with multiple players, with Solomon Thomas probably being one of those. Yeah, I think this is more than reasonable. Now, what do you think our compensation we can get for him? Because right now his contract is pretty decent. He's like what, $4 million this season? So
it's a good little bit. It's and the cap charge is really the bigger thing. I don't think it would be more than a fourth, to be honest. I would be a little surprised if it was more than that. If they get more than that, that would be great. But I don't think this is going to be. I don't think this is going to be a move where teams are going to be banging down the door asking for JFM. I think this is going to be a move where the Jets really, really like what they see out of Clemens, and they get an offer that is good enough in their mind to go, okay, we feel comfortable. We're going to get enough of the value back, and it's going to help us out on the books, and we're going to get cheaper and younger at the same time. And it's just kind of it makes sense for us to start this transition now and get ahead and get Clemens that much more playing time right now.
So I'm looking at his 2024 cap, and it's around $16 million. So yeah, it's $4 million this year, but that's going to blow up next year. So that might also factor in to what we can get compensation wise. I would say, yeah, at most a fourth, if not probably a fifth or a sixth.
I think it will be a fifth. If I had to guess, if you want to attach a compensation to the prediction, I think it'll be a fifth round pick.
All right, I could see that. And I don't think that it would hurt our defensive line that much too. So I'm all for it.
No, gain of 5 and free up 16 million in 2024. Sign me up.
Yep.
All right, Matt. Last one for you. Who we got?
All right. I'm going to stay. All three of mine are on the offensive side, mostly because they can only go up from what we've seen from them. So any kind of progress is bold. All right. So I'm going to say Izzy ends the year with better stats than Hall. I think that Hall is going to probably take half the season or maybe even a little bit more to really find his legs. But in the interim, I think Izzy's gonna really take the reins and show what he can do, especially behind an offensive line that if they're clicking, I think it's only gonna allow him to click as well. And his home run ability is going to be on full display and only lead to great things. And if Hall doesn't really come back full this season, then I don't see his stats really blowing anybody away. But Izzy can really make a name for himself this year and give us a good problem going into next year. If we have two studs that can really be interchangeable, it's going to be reminiscent of what the Browns have with their two guys in years past. Yeah. I can definitely see something similar where you take one guy off and you're just replacing him with another guy that's going to run it down your throat and is a threat to score at any moment. To have that tag team going into the future, I think is going to be very special, and I think it only starts this year when Izzy gets his chance to shine.
I mean, you know how much I love Izzy. So this one's right up my alley. I almost put one in that was very, very similar to this. Honorable mention for mine, since you went ahead and one upped it and made it even better. I was going to say Izzy will have more yards rushing than the entire Jets tight end room has receiving. And
Oh,
and I think yours, like I said, is even better. Is just he's going to outrush Brees Hall. And I love how a few minutes ago you were worried if we were being too believable, and we're saying, oh, should it be a little more bold? And now here you are with this one. But
yeah.
but it makes a lot of sense. It really does. I mean, ACLs are tricky. They're finicky. Brees tore his ACL, and I believe it was towards the end of October. So the start of the season is going to be give or take about 10 months, roughly. And that's assuming that he gets any sort of action in the preseason, which I think is unlikely. This guy's going to go into his second year, but it's going to be his eighth NFL game. It would be very smart not to have to rush him right in and overload him with carries. And like we talked about for a while before the draft, they needed somebody else to take that load, and they got the perfect player to do it. And Izzy, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. I don't know if I'm 100% there on your side yet to say yes, that he will outrush Brees Hall, because I think when Brees does get to that point of being 100% back, he is going to be the bell cow and they are going to feed him to put games away. But I do really like it, and it does make a lot of sense. And the more I think about it, the more I would not be surprised if it did happen.
Yeah, it really it's down to who's going to be the bell cow if Hall isn't ready. And then we look at who do we have other than Hall. And you got Carter, who's kind of in the doghouse. The fact that they even got Izzy kind of shows that they're probably not that confident in Carter or Bam for that matter. Bam is an undrafted free agent who had definitely some flashes out there. But in the end, he's still an undrafted free agent and needs to grow a lot more before we can consider him anything on the level of Hall. And Izzy, he's just has that game breaking speed and that ability to take it to the house at any time, whether it's as a receiver or as a runner. So I I just see him as the natural fit to be, or to at least get the chance to be that guy to fill in for Hall.
Yeah, I mean, I completely and totally understand, and there is no guarantee whatsoever that Brees Hall is going to be ready. And if the Jets are smart, like we've talked about, they shouldn't rush him.
No.
There shouldn't be any sort of remote idea of a thought to we need to get this guy on the field and have him week one taking 25 carries in a game. It's just not logical, and it would be very smart for them to give Izzy a big workload early. And if he can jump out to a wide lead in rushing, and then come the time Brees is healthy, they realize Izzy's too good to not get the ball too, and they're a little bit more of a duo than we expected. I mean, it's not crazy. It's really not. Brees Hall fantasy owners or suspected fantasy drafters, beware, because he is not going to be the superstar fantasy do it all running back that you think he is going to be. They're going to have other guys on the roster to get touches. And if they're smart, he is not going to be getting the ball a lot the first couple of games.
But you know what? Stash him on that bench because
Mhm.
eventually he will be back. It might not be right away, but I have a hard time wrapping my head around the idea of him not coming back. He's so young, he's so talented, he's got the work ethic.
Looks to be in good shape
Looks to
already.
be in good shape already. So I see him making a full recovery at some point, but I don't think it's going to be right away. I wouldn't count on it being right away.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either. And that's the best thing for Brees himself and for the Jets in the long run. So I'm right there with you. All right, my last one here. I saved the biggest one for last. Finally, I am also on the offensive side of the ball. I alluded to it a little bit earlier that Aaron Rodgers missing some games might counteract mine, because I'm going to go for it and I'm going to call my shot. I think Aaron Rodgers wins his fifth MVP this year.
There we go.
And the reason I think that is, look at what he's done when he's had a star receiver like a Devontae Adams or a Garrett Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett, a reliable possession guy in Alan Lazard, an offensive line that is serviceable, and enough running backs to make it work. In the 3 years that they were together in Green Bay, Rodgers won MVP twice. He was 30, 37 and 38 years old at the time he won those MVP awards. We just saw Tom Brady at 42 or 43 or something lead the NFL in passing yards. I think that if Rodgers is Rodgers, and this is the system that we've seen from Hackett and Rodgers before, with the talent that we've talked about, not only on this show, but off air, Matt, how the players they had in Green Bay when they were clicking, you can kind of just sub in guys the Jets have on their roster right now to fill the same roles. I don't see any reason why this isn't a possibility. And the last nail in the coffin for me that really makes it a strong possibility is the Jets are going to be on TV all the time this year. They're going to be in the national spotlight all the time this year. And the story of Aaron Rodgers gets the Jets to 12 wins and a playoff berth would be more than enough for the league to hand him the MVP if the stats are what we expect out of Aaron Rodgers. So barring somebody in the field like a Mahomes or a Burrow or somebody like that having an insane season, if Rodgers is Rodgers and the Jets are good and they're in the playoffs and Rodgers' stats are what we expect out of him, I think he's a very, very strong chance of winning his fifth MVP award.
No, I might have missed this if you said it, but I think another great reason for him to make a case for him having another MVP season is our defense. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like our defense with a better offense are going to be even better, and they're going to be more well rested. They're going to be in better positions to really, click their heels and come after the quarterback and play the game that they want to play. So I could see them getting the ball back to Rodgers a whole lot more, and to really putting Rodgers in a position to really pad his stats. So yeah, I definitely see it. I can see. I saw some what are they some people kind of mocking the season, and I saw something like 5,000 yards for Rodgers. I don't think it's going to be quite that good,
No,
but I would say somewhere in the mid 4,000, maybe 4,300 yards. I would put him in around that. And let's see, he's always had a great touchdown to interception ratio. So I think he comes back to his elite self and really kind of looks toward back towards his 2021, 2020 self. I would love it, and then hopefully it all ends with more confetti and Taylor Swift playing.
that would be the hope. That would absolutely be the hope. In 2021, Rodgers won MVP. His stats were 4,115 passing yards, 37 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. I, I I think he can replicate that in New York.
I think
I
so.
don't
Yeah.
I don't see what has changed or what's different about him as a player or the offense that he's going to be in or the talent that he's going to have at his disposal that it makes that unreasonable. I think if Rodgers gets 4,200 yards, 38 to 40 touchdowns, and 5 or less interceptions, that's an MVP caliber season because we've already seen that it's an MVP caliber season from him. Now he's going to be in the New York media. Now he's going to have the storyline of, I willed the Jets to be this good. Even if their defense helps him out a ton, Aaron Rodgers is going to be the one getting the credit for it. And when you are making the argument of most valuable player, the player that took the Jets and turned them into a playoff team, it's going to be hard for someone to beat that argument.
It's going to be very hard. If everything's clicking, if health is on our side, I really can't see a reality where he's not playing top tier football. So yeah, good luck, league, if any of those things come to pass, whether it's health or talent reaching our expectations. He's going to do it. We just need all these other pieces to fall into place.
Yeah, that Rodgers is the least of my concerns about this prediction, which is the craziest part of it, is that it all centers around him. But it really all centers around, like you lead it off with, the offensive line staying healthy, and it centers around everyone picking up this offense and getting on the same page and getting coordinated and having that chemistry in place and the defense being able to do their part. But I'm not worried about Aaron Rodgers because I know what Aaron Rodgers is, and I've already seen what he looks like in this system. It's an MVP caliber player twice. So why can't it be the same in 2023 for the New York Jets? I don't see any reason why it can't.
Let me throw a scenario out there. Let's say he gets hurt, misses 3 games. Zach comes in and looks just as good as him. Now, does he still? Is that a case for him not to get MVP?
No, then the argument will be Aaron Rodgers fixed Zach Wilson.
There we go. That'll be the narrative I like.
Right. That'll be what that'll be everything you hear from the New York side of the media, and that'll be everything you hear from anybody on SportsCenter or ESPN or any of the 9 things is going to be like, okay, Aaron Rodgers is so great and so amazing that he turns Zach Wilson into a good quarterback just by proximity. Like that's what we're going to hear. And in all reality, like we talked about, it really might be Nathaniel Hackett that's doing that, but it's going to be accredited to Aaron Rodgers. Any success the Jets have this year is going to be accredited to Aaron Rodgers. That's what makes me feel like really somewhat confident about this is that he has the ultimate backing of any good that happens to this team will be due to him or attributed to him, whether it actually is fair or otherwise to do so.
Yeah, I agree. Rodgers is going to lift many a boat with his high tide. It's going to be a sight to see, and I can't wait to. What are we? 99 days? I think we reached the 100-day mark yesterday.
100 days until the first game on Thursday night, I believe at this point, or that was 100 days of yesterday. That would be 99 days today until the first Jets game is 103 days.
Double digits.
This recording. Still though, getting close, getting really close. We are roughly 3 months away. We are about to enter June in a little bit of the dead period, but we do have some OTAs ramping up. Training camp will be coming on really, real soon. The Jets are going to lead off the NFL craziness of the year period by playing in the Hall of Fame game against the Cleveland Browns. They're going to lead off the preseason. So we will get an early look at them on primetime. That'll be a lot of fun. Really excited to see some of the new rookies in that game as well. Matt, any other parting shots from you before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, I can't wait to see them on Hard Knocks whenever that gets decided.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before that gets announced. I would be knowing the NFL, knowing that they are an option. I would be hard pressed to think that whether the Hard Knocks producers or the NFL as a whole was going to want any other team but the Jets to be the featured team this year.
There's no way they passed this up.
I don't think the Jets are going to want to do it, but I don't think it's going to be up to them.
You know what? I don't even think it really matters because they already have Flight 23 anyways. So it's pretty much kind of the same thing, just more on a local level. But at the same time, we're going to be watching the same thing either way. It's just going to be everybody else watching it as well.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, that does it for us this week. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and tuning in. Make sure you stop by next week as we continue breaking down this offseason. Matt, you know what to do. Let's wrap this one up.
Matt, you can find me at ZazzyJets.
And you can find me at AndrewGolden_17. Thank you guys so much one more time for stopping by, and we will be back real soon. See ya.